I'm legally insane. Today is your lucky day. You might want to put a diaper on. I'm wearing two pair today because I had an epiphany lately. I get a new epiphany every week. And I've been thinking about the golden age of gaming. I'm talking 1990s, early 90s, mid 90s, late 90s. And in particular, I've been thinking about the N64. N64. I'm going to be showing you a couple of new pickups that I got because I got a backlog of 500 games that I recently picked up for all sorts of consoles: retro, N64, Nintendo Switch, Xbox 360, OG Xbox, PS1, PS2, PS3, Super Nintendo, Sega Genesis, NES, GameCube, and the Nintendo Wii. Did I miss anything? But I had an epiphany lately. I've been thinking about the N64 because I went through an N64 phase a couple of years ago. I was getting heavy into the N64 a couple of years ago. So much so that I bought the Eon Super 64. This thing was expensive. Very expensive. And you got to remember the analog 64 hadn't even been invented when this thing came out. And I don't even think I needed an analog 64. I have no intention to buy it because I have this. And what this is an HDMI, a very special, very expensive HDMI cable for your N64 to allow it to become 1080p with almost zero input lag. That's critical because that's the claim to fame of the analog, those analog consoles, right? So basically zero input lag makes it 1080p, makes it an HDMI hookup for modern TVs, but it goes beyond that. It actually has an option that you can turn on or off. It's a personal preference. What do they call it? They call it they call it the slick mode. And what it does is it smooths out the graphics. It smooths out those heavily pixelated or heavily polygon graphics, right? N64 and the PS1, they're famous for those polygon rough edges, right? Those sharp triangular edges, for lack of better wording. Well, it actually smooths those out, and it does a really good job. I've tested it where you push a button, you turn it on or off at the push of a button. But enough about that. So I bought this just to show you how heavily I was getting into the N64. And back around that era, when I was getting heavy into it, I also ended up buying some of the heavy hitters like Castlevania Legacy of Darkness. Got this at Black Diamond. Rental stickers on it. I was disappointed in those at first, but I'm a big fan of the rental stickers now. I've since changed my mind on that. Shows the history. This was a former rental, and funny enough, they put these stickers on the corner to prevent renters from opening the case up. Probably somebody stole their sculptor's special edition of the sculptor's cut that Blockbuster had. And the sticker says, warning, if you tamper with this sticker, you basically got to pay for the game. So I bought some of the heavy hitters pretty early on because I know they're going up in price. I bought Starshot N64. I left the sticker on. I paid $90 Canadian for it. It was going for closer to $200 at the time. It's come down a little bit. Bit of a hidden gem. Very, very rare. Not too many of those floating around. And in my last N64 pickup video, retro game pickups video, I showcased Indiana Jones. And back in the day, this you could only get at Blockbuster or on the website, LucasArts website. So very hard to find game, especially in good condition, by the way. I spent years trying to get a good condition copy for a good price. I don't want to overpay. And I want a good deal. And finally a good condition label came up. I picked it up. Well, I never did stop collecting for the N64. I'm still collecting for the N64. And I will never stop collecting. People tell me all the time, they're always complaining, why don't you stop collecting video games? Why don't you stop collecting retro games? And I tell them the same thing every time. I will stop when I have all of the games. When I have all the games that I need, I will stop. There's still games that I need. Snowboard Kids 1 and 2. I don't even have Snowboard Kids 1. How could you stop buying N64 games if you don't even have Snowboard Kids? Who does that? And why would you do that? That doesn't even make sense. You don't even have Snowboard Kids. You know, if this were the 1800s and somebody said, oh, you know, I think I'm going to stop collecting for the N64. Yeah, I think I'm good. I've got GoldenEye 007 and Perfect Dark. I think I'm ready to quit now. Buddy, they would have taken you out back and given you an old school talk. And the old school talk would involve a four-way conversation between you, me, because I'm taking you out back in this scenario, Mr. Jack Johnson, and Brian O'Neill. And the four of us are going to have a nice little chat. And by the end of that chat, I'm telling you right now, you'd be ordering Snowboard Kids 1 off of eBay and Snowboard Kids 2 off of eBay. So let's find out what games I got, because I picked up a couple of games here. I'm going to tell you what I got, what I paid for each of these games, and why you might also be interested in some of these games. Because the N64 ain't dead yet. It's not a dead console. There are still people that love this console. It is both an overrated console and an underrated console, which is makes it a relatively unique console. So let's go ahead and get started. So first up, we got Earthworm Jim 3D. I've been wanting this game for a very long time. It has eluded me all these years, but I was never in a hurry to get it either. And the seller had the courtesy of sending me this nice case to go with it, which I'm going to take it out of the case. It's in good condition, and I paid up for it, but I still got a good deal. I paid $77 Canadian. Price charts for $93.69.
69.
So for those that don't know, this game has a very interesting history. First off, it is a action platform game. It is the sequel to Earthworm Jim 2, even though that is up for debate. But it is technically the sequel. It is Earthworm Jim 3, just like it says on the cover, because the game was plagued with problems, okay? Right from the very beginning. Earthworm Jim 2 was not supposed to have a sequel. The developers said that they were done making sequels. It's never going to happen. But then those developers were bought out. Okay. Shiny Entertainment, the original Earthworm Jim developers, they were bought out by Interplay. And then Interplay farmed out the creation of this game to another company called Vis Interactive. And they made Earthworm Jim 3. That's the gist of it. And the game was plagued with problems. It was delayed after it had delay after delay after delay, and then finally 3 years in development they finally released the game, and it came out in 1999, which was a decently late release title for the N64. N64 lifespan wasn't really that long, so it came out in basically in time for Christmas 1999, so you could round up say it came out in the year 2000. This game is notorious for being bad. It's one of those very famous games that everybody knows is a bad game. But is it really that bad? Because we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about that. But it is famous for being bad. It's one of the worst games ever made, some might tell you. It's definitely one of the worst games on the N64. Others will tell you. In fact, so the creators themselves, they didn't really have anything to do with this game. They helped out in the beginning for a short time. They were hired as consultants for a very short time, and then they were released. And both of them expressed that they hated what was done with this game. They absolutely hated everything about this game, but could not legally prevent anything from happening. So they could not legally prevent the release of this game or the terrible design choices of this game. And one of the two creators also said that he felt that the series was ruined by Earthworm Jim 3D. Reviews at the time were also quite atrocious. We're talking 5 out of 10 from Electronic Gaming Monthly, 5.75 out of 10 from Game Informer, 6.3 from GameSpot. Some of them were half decent. IGN 7.3. Couple 6.8 Nintendo Power. N64 Magazine 68%. 6.3 from GameSpot might be that even might be fair in my opinion. Hyper gave it a 67%. But a little bit mixed, but they're pretty poor reviews overall. The game itself is very similar to Donkey Kong 64 or Mario 64, but not as good. Like a Banjo-Kazooie. That's what it is. This is Banjo-Kazooie on a low budget. Donkey Kong 64 on a low budget. And maybe they thought having a yellow cart would increase sales, which it probably did, but they probably thought it would save the game, which it didn't. I do want to point out one thing real quick. Although the game is plagued with problems, it also has a lot of good things going for it. But what they should have done, I think we can all agree on one thing. What they should have done to save this game is they should have made it a 2D game, like Mischief Makers, right? It could have had that 3D look, but in a 2D world, or even a 2.5 2D game. They could have done a 2D game, 2.5D, and it would have sold. Make it more like the Super Nintendo style. They obviously wanted to go 3D because that was the style at the time. You got to understand, this came out at a time when 2D games weren't popular anymore. The big 3D was still new, and so everybody wanted 3D. It's just the way it was. Nobody cares anymore. 2D games are popular again now, but at that time, at that era, mid late 90s, we all thought that the future of gaming was 3D and only 3D. And so the fan base and the reviewers at the time, everyone was hating on 2D games. It's just a sign of the times back then. That's just what it was. But that's why they went with the 3D game. And they should have, had they not done that, we probably would have been up to Earthworm Jim 69 already. And it would have sold $100 million worth of copies. Easily. It would have been the top selling game of all time. Earthworm Jim 69. But instead they ruined the franchise and we haven't had an Earthworm Jim ever since. I mean, it's sad, but that's what happened. And actually, a couple of people have compared the game Skull Monkeys for PS1 as to what Earthworm Jim should have been. And they'll tell you that Skull Monkeys is the unofficial sequel to Earthworm Jim. One of the things that I like to do with these old games that got heavily destroyed by these reviewers back in the day is I like to see what people say about it now. What are the gamers saying about it now? But also, what did the real gamers say about it back then as well? Because sometimes the professional reviewers get it wrong. And I came across a couple of really interesting YouTube comments, and some of them are very recent. And I think this sums up what the general consensus is amongst the real gamers when it comes to this game. Tiger Bear Cat Brandon says this game was way underrated. The story about exploring the facets of a beloved hero's mind, because in the game, by the way, Earthworm Jim has lost his marbles, aka he's gone legally insane. Exploring the facets of a beloved hero's mind is humanist and a welcome extension. It is not technically a perfect platformer like its 2D cousins, but fun, zany, and a neat exploration of 6th gen gaming. But the bosses are frustrating, and this is a common theme that you'll hear. And I bet you, had they not screwed up on the bosses that were clearly rushed, because it's the same boss, reskinned, same, basically everything is reskinned for every single boss. That's just the way it is. It's called pork boarding. We'll get into that later. Here's my favorite comment here, actually. I'm going to have to take my shades off for this. This game falls into the same category as Mega Man 64 and Castlevania Legacy of Darkness, the one that I showed you earlier. Everyone hates it because of clunky controls and not jumping to the third dimension from its predecessors very well. Meaning they screwed up on the 3D technology. 3D was kind of new back then, right? You got to understand the developers were still learning back then too. Even in 1999, not everyone had mastered it. Oh, which he then says, but everyone was still learning back then. So I say those flaws are excusable. This game did its job greatly for how hard it was to develop, and it doesn't deserve as much hate as it gets. This commenter here says, just played this for the first time today, and this was only 1 year ago from today, 2004. And because the game has a poor reputation, was surprised how much I liked it. It seems far more enjoyable than either of the Gex games. It's too bad what they did with the boss battles, though. What a shame. It really is a shame. Oh my gosh. Imagine if they had good boss battles. Just imagine. I rented this for a weekend when I was 11. I couldn't get past one boss who says, I love the smell of bacon in the morning when the fight starts, but I tried to beat it like 8 million times. I gotta remember, these bosses are hard. I'm 33 now, and I still hear him saying it all the time. And then somebody else replied, 4 months ago, people are still talking about this game in 2025. And this guy says, I'm still stuck at that level. So, like, some of these bosses, they seem dang near impossible. Now, what I was doing recently is, I'll put my shades back on. I was watching a YouTube video of somebody that recorded themselves beating every single boss. And he makes it look easy, but I'm starting to think that maybe anyone can beat these bosses. You just got to know how to do it. So I'm going to try copying this guy. And I think there's a trick. In other words, there's a trick to it. So the bosses are hard, but I think not very many people knew the trick. That's my theory. There's a trick to beating these bosses. Regardless, though, I'm very happy to have this game. I've got this game on my bucket list. I want to beat this game. It is a bucket list game of mine. And I love Earthworm Jim. So by default, I gotta get this game. Which reminds me, I did forget to show you guys the chart here. Chart looks good. I mean, shockingly, this is not in the discount bin. It's just been slowly rising in price since 2011. Very slow and steady, creeping up its entire life, just about. And then, of course, the 2020 boom, which happened to a lot of retro games around that era, so that was fairly normal. And also fairly normal, a lot of those games, unlike the retards on YouTube who have no idea what they're talking about when it comes to the retro game market, all the retards out there predicted that, oh, all the games are going to crash. They're going to crash. Oh, they're only up because of COVID. They're going to crash. Well, none of them ever did crash. Though they have newly elevated prices. They may have come down a bit, but they didn't go back down to their 2018, 2017 levels. You're not going to get Earthworm Jim for $20. This is US dollars, by the way, on the chart. So this is a $67 US dollar game. You're not going to get it for 20. For the rest of your miserable existence, you are never going to get it for $20. I mean, if you're lucky 50 years from now, if you're lucky, you'll get it for 20. But I mean, with all the inflation that's going to happen between now and then, I don't think so, buddy. And then, of course, when it was dipping down over here back in 2023, it peaked just about, it's been in a trading range, started dipping. The untrained eye would say, oh, it's dipping. It's got to be going back to 20 now. Of course, right? It's dipping. It's crashing hard. From $77 to $52, this thing is going back down to the discount bin. This going back down to 2008 prices, $6.99. I'm going to get this for 2007 prices. This thing crashing hard. Look at that dip. Well, what happened since then? Well, it's trending back up right now. That was the floor, buddy. Right now, it's trending back up. And you know what? 5 years from now, this could be double the price. This might be a $120 game. It'll be $120 long before it becomes $7.99. And long before it becomes $21.76. I'm telling you. Okay, next up we got South Park. And I'll be honest with you, this is my second copy. I was looking for a label upgrade. But I got kind of screwed because turned out the back is not in good condition, but I might be able to clean that up. And if I can't, which I think it's actually ripped now that I look at it closer, I will have to swap the back out. Because I'm a big fan of this game. So this is South Park. It's not known for being a good game, and it's really not a good game. I can't say too many positive things about South Park. As much as I would like to, I bought this for myself. Nostalgia. I rented this back in the day. And I played it on 4-player as well. Not very many people got to play this on 4-player. I got to play it on 4-player. You got to understand, this is first-person shooter, South Park. This was the first South Park game. It came out at a time when South Park was at its peak in popularity. Okay? You have to understand that. So I rented it. And I had 3 friends with me. We all played it together. And I know for a fact we all wanted to enjoy the game. We all love South Park. We tried to enjoy the game, and we tried to convince ourselves that we were having fun. And we were to a certain extent. But it was definitely, it could not compete with GoldenEye 007. And it really wasn't good enough to have me rent it a second time or purchase the game, which is a testament to the fact that it wasn't very good. But we told ourselves it was good. We lied to ourselves. And to this day, I'm still lying to myself. And I'm trying to tell you that it's a good game. But I can't even say that. But I will say this. If you go into it as a hardcore South Park fan, and you go into it knowing that they tried to make something, you can get a small amount of enjoyment out of it. It's made with the Turok engine. Same engine that made Turok. It's a good, solid first-person shooter engine. The weapons are fun. They just get repetitive and boring. There's nothing going on. The levels are boring. The backgrounds are boring. There's nothing visually exciting going on. Killing the turkeys does get old fairly quick. There's no replayability. But I'll tell you what it does have. It's got a good chart. At least it's got that going for it. Once again, straight up since 2010, buddy. Still going, shockingly. $30 game, Canadian dollar game to this day. And you know what? Sadly, I kid you not, I bought a complete in box copy. I don't know what year it was. I'm going to guess 2014, 2015? Yeah, maybe. 2016 even? 2017? Anyways, I paid like $25 for it. CIB mint condition. I even bought the South Park racing game, South Park Rally, for $25 back in the day, brand new Canadian dollars. And of course, now it's worth a lot more than that, and I regret selling it. I sold them both a long time ago. I was going through a move. I was trying to downsize. And yeah, I regretted it. I sold them for the same price I paid for them, $25. That includes South Park Rally. Currently, South Park Rally price charts $120 CIB. Like I said, I had a mint condition copy too, by the way. Mint condition's going to sell for more than that. I'll tell you that right now. Mint condition. Loose copy, $40.75. Don't even get me started on South Park Rally. But there's one other positive thing that South Park has. It's called cheat codes. Okay? Cheat codes. This is a huge positive. In fact, let's just go straight to N64. PlayStation version sucks. Cheat codes. This is a thing of the 90s. I told you I was taking you back to the 90s. Well, back in the 90s, they had cheat codes. All the good games had cheat codes. And this one's got a couple of good ones. All characters, all weapons. Level select. Invincibility mode. Ink and pen mode. I don't know what that is, but it sounds like it might be fun. Big head mode. That was a 90s thing. Skinny mode. You know, this is like fun 90s stuff, probably for playing multiplayer. Here's another good one, though. Unlimited ammo. Unlock alien. I guess that's a character. And then there's a code to just unlock everything. Bobby Bird. Oh, screw you guys is the code to view the credits. The codes make the game funner than it should be. So just know that they're there if you are interested. I think it's an underrated game, to be quite honest with you. I'm very excited to have a better label because I'm a big fan of this game, and it might be the nostalgia talking, but I'll play this game 4-player with you any day of the week. If somebody comes over to my house today, says, let's play this game, I'll pop her in. No questions asked. Now, the game's claim to fame is the weapons. That's essentially the only thing that makes it unique and extra interesting. There's a lot of funny weapons that you can get. Cow launcher was the big famous one. They might have stole that from Worms. I remember that. I'm pretty sure there was a cow launcher or sheep launcher or something in Worms Armageddon. I remember that. But the funniest one was yellow snow. So it's snow that you pissed on. Yellow snowballs. That was the funniest one. I remember that one. There was Terrence and Phillip dolls that you could throw. Little fart bombs, essentially a grenade of some sort. Okay, last game here, I got Cruisin' USA. I got this one a long time ago, but it never made it into a video. This one's in mint condition. Thank you to the seller. Very rarely do I get mint condition copies from the guy that I did buy this from. He's a bit of a gamble when it comes to condition. But I paid $6 Canadian, so I got a deal. Another shockingly good chart on a game like this. You know, I would have thought this being a racing game, especially N64 racing game, I would have thought prior to looking at it, $10. 10 Canadian dollars. I paid 6 Canadian dollars. I would have thought this would be a $10 game. Well, the prices are clearly going up. And this is a common price trend for N64 games in general, and it's been going straight up since 2012. You used to be able to get this for $1.40 USD. Now it's $18.44 USD. I'm telling you right now, if you think this trend is going to start reversing down to $1, you're living in a fantasy land. That's a straight line up. This is the kind of chart that you want to see when it comes to retro games. This is a very healthy chart. No parabolic moves. Just a very clear trend. Slow and steady riser. Meaning the game generally isn't going to get any cheaper. It ain't getting any cheaper, buddy. Which is why I try to get my games for as cheap as possible so that I don't have to pay more for double or triple the price years later. I got this game because it's one of my all-time favorite racing games. And it wasn't until today, doing some research on this game, that I found out that it got poor reviews back in the day. I had no idea. I always thought it was a very popular game. And it was a popular game. It sold millions of copies. At least 1 million. It was one of the top-selling games the year that it did come out. I think I read it was the 6th top-selling game of that year. And what I remember is that everyone and their mother had it. And if you didn't physically own it, you definitely rented it. This was a playground game that we would talk about on the playground. Every single person was talking about this game. It was right up there with GoldenEye 007. It was right up there with Perfect Dark, Smash Bros, Turok the Dinosaur Hunter. These were all playground talk games. Kids were talking about these games on the playground. And they would talk about, oh, I unlocked the such and such car. Oh, did you know that you can get a school bus? Oh, did you know you can get a police car? Did you know you can get this car, that car? Oh, yeah, how'd you get the car? What did you do? And like, oh, I beat the game on such and such mode or whatever. If you beat the game on easy mode, you get this car. You beat the game on hard mode, you get that car. You enter this cheat code, you get all the cars, right? Maybe somebody had a Nintendo Power magazine. Oh, I entered this cheat code. I got the school bus. Oh, let me write that down. This was one of the games that got me into racing games because I have a love-hate relationship with racing games. I love them. I just happen to suck at them. That's all it is. And I wish I loved them more. But there were a couple of racing games back in the day that I genuinely was good at and genuinely really loved. Excluding Need for Speed Underground 1 and 2, like going back even further, it was Off-Road, Super Off-Road, NES and Super Nintendo, and Top Gear 2, Super Nintendo, and lastly, Cruisin' USA number 1. And number 1, you got to understand, for whatever reason, I never heard anybody talk about any of the sequels. Cruisin' World, nobody talked about. Cruisin' Exotica, nobody talked about. This was the only one that everybody talked about. And yet, probably Cruisin' Exotica or Cruisin' World probably a lot better than this one. The sequels were probably much better. I have no doubt. No doubt about it. Sort of an arcade game. But yeah, I just remember I've got good memories with this game. And it is one of my all-time favorite racing games. So some of the reviews at the time, 51% from Game Rankings. Wow. 4 out of 10 from Edge Gamer? That's terrible. Electronic Gaming Monthly, 5.25. Eurogamer, 5 out of 10. Game Informer gave it a good score, 7.5 or 7.75 out of 10. That ain't too bad. GameSpot, 6.1 out of 10. That's not too bad. IGN, a whopping 4 out of 10. Who does that? Maybe the game does suck, but we didn't think it sucked. We didn't think it sucked back then. We thought it was good. I thought this review here was kind of interesting. So, this is GameFAQ again. These are reviewers back in the day. And this is a very interesting one because, as you can see, you just saw the professional reviewers all gave the game a low score. But when we go to the real gamers back in the day, we're getting a better variety and a lot of high scores. 7 out of 10. 2008. 2022. 7 out of 10. The year 2000. Okay, this is better. Good back then, average now. Ooh, that's an interesting comment. Maybe it doesn't age so well. But here's my personal favorite. 9 out of 10 from this guy. Here's a game that was killed by, quote, professional reviewers. ... Meaning the professional reviewers probably got it wrong. They did bash it for being pretty basic, but you gotta remember, it's a straight up arcade port. That's what it's supposed to be. 9 out of 10, year 2000, one of the best racing games to date. I'd agree with that. Like back for the year 2000, I would agree with that. It's clearly been surpassed today. We've got far superior Need for Speed games. For example, Midnight Club. But back then, in the year 2000, this game still held up. 8 out of 10, 2 out of 10, oh gosh. 01, this guy says, I can't believe I used to like this. Oh, dang. Okay, this guy was wrong. He says, save your tokens for Ferrari F355 challenge. I don't think so, buddy. I got that for Dreamcast. And to be honest, I was disappointed. I think that game needs to stay in the arcade. It's kind of cool, but you got to be a really hardcore racing fan. That's what I learned about that one. Fun game at first, but gets boring. Yeah, that's fair. I mean, it's a short game. You got to understand that too. Much lower scores down here, but much more fair scores too. And a wide variety. This guy thinks it's a 10. The game dude thinks it's a 10. So some people really like it. Okay, now I want to show you something else. Pretty cool. This is the Turok 2 official strategy guide. I picked this up. I forget what I paid. I probably should have wrote it down. It was cheap. It was like anywhere between $3, $4, $5, $6. I got it for pretty cheap. But why I'm bringing this up, remember I said I was going to take you back to the 90s. Okay, I've been collecting strategy guides, by the way. I'm a big fan of strategy guides. I used to use them back in the day all the time with RPGs, and then at some point in time, I just stopped buying them. And ever since then, I had an epiphany, and I realized I don't enjoy playing games as much without having a guide. I like cheating. I like having the guide tell me what to do. I like that. I enjoy it. I like knowing that I'm not missing any secrets. And so I picked this up, which I'm going to use. I'm going to beat Turok 2. I have it on the Nintendo Switch, though, not on the N64. But what I want to show you, this is secondhand. Some other owner had this back in the day. And look at what he did. This is another thing that only would ever happen in the 90s. For starters, he pasted this on. This is all the cheat codes. He custom made that. He printed that out. So what do we got in here? All the cheat codes. Blackout, game credits, big hands and big feet mode, big head mode, fruity stripes, Gowroud mode, I don't know what that is. Pen and ink mode. Okay, so that makes sense because these same cheat codes are in the South Park game. Because the South Park game is made on the Turok engine. Stick mode, tiny mode, Zack attack cheat. That sounds fun. And big cheat. Very interesting. Now here's the kicker. He also custom taped this on. So inside this custom made paper pouch is more level codes, passwords. Oh, sorry, it's not passwords. He's highlighted pages in this exact guide for things that you want to pay attention to. Pages. For example, volume 119, he wrote page 41 and page 96. I have no idea what that means, but there's obviously important things on those pages. And I'm going to use them all. So I will be beating this game. This is one of the guides that I'm very excited to have. I bought a whole bunch of guides recently, but I wanted to highlight this particular one because of what I found at the back there. I just said, man, what a 90s thing to do. Back when we would print out cheat codes, go on cheat code websites, go on GameFAQ. GameFAQ back then. I'm still using GameFAQ to this day, but back then you'd go on GameFAQ. Oh, what are the cheat codes? Figure this out. Get your Nintendo Power magazine out. Get your Game Pro magazines out. You'd get all your cheat codes from magazines. This is pre-internet. We would all be magazines. I mean, hell, maybe this guy got these codes from a magazine. Who knows? Nintendo Power, for all we know. Unless, I mean, maybe the guide tells you the cheat codes and he made that as a quick reference guide. I'm not even sure. Guys, if you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing to the channel. I'm trying to get to over 9,000 subscribers. Please also consider joining the Patreon. I do post exclusive content, link in the description below. I appreciate every single Patreon supporter. It does mean a lot. And I'm going to be posting more custom content for you guys soon. It's all about the support. This channel would not exist if you guys didn't support the channel. And you can support the channel by smashing the like button, subscribing to the channel, sharing a video with a friend, subscribing to the Patreon, or just leaving a comment. It all helps. And it helps the algorithm push the channel as well. We are trying to get to over 9,000 subscribers, upon which I will have my over 9,000 subscriber special. And I might even bring your mother on the show.